got a complicated view about aliens. See, I'm not really sure if you're prepared for this answer. Me, I think that we're the aliens.
I had some experience as a child of being visited.
One of my first memories I have, if not the first memory, is of something looking at me and just observing me that wasn't human.
I was a captive audience at age 4 in Midland, Texas. I see this entity walking away from my little bed, and the thing is real skinny. He's got a bulbous head.
By some kind of a praying mantis-like being.
Something was looking at me and observing me that was not human. And I think it could have been insectoid-like, possibly.
All right, so I'm about to call Jordan Maxwell, and I don't know if you call it an interview or not. I'm pretty much just going to let him talk. I mean, because nobody wants to hear me, right? Anyway, so here we go.
Hello.
How's it going, Mr. Maxwell?
I don't know. Nobody ever tells me anything, so.
Nobody tells you anything?
Nope. Looks like everything's all right for the moment.
All right. So I got you here on Skype, and you're on my YouTube channel. I'm honored to have you as a guest.
Well, thank you. And is it coming in clear enough?
Yes, you're coming in loud and clear.
Good, good. Okay. Where do we go from here?
Well, I would figure you were you're the expert in that area. Where do we go from here?
Well, I would suggest you introduce me, and then I'll take it from there.
Okay. Well, this is Jordan Maxwell. He's got, well, I'd say 50 years of research into the occult, theology, and the hidden meanings behind language and symbols. So yeah, I'm a small timer on that, but I'm so fascinated with trying to figure out what's what in the world that I figure you're the best person to talk to about that.
Well, I thank you, and I've been doing this kind of speaking about these subjects as far back as 1959. That's actually 59 years ago.
Wow.
Next year it will be 60 years I've been talking about these subjects. And they're very, not only interesting, but they're too important not to know about.
Yeah.
And so I say they're interesting to explore, but they're too important to ignore. And that is how our language works, how our world works, how the system that we live under works. People don't know how things work, and that's why they get in trouble.
Yes.
You get in trouble with the law, you get in trouble when you have to go to court. Some people go to jail, and other people lose everything they own. And, people get locked into the military and ended up being killed, and so people just get in trouble all around the world. Why? Because nobody seems to know how this charade circus we call life, how it really works.
That's right.
And so that's what I've been trying to do for going on 60 years now, is trying to educate people to how the world really works. And I will guarantee you, I don't care where you are in life, I don't care what your education background is, I don't care how many degrees you have by your name and how smart you think you are, I will guarantee you, you don't know how the world works. You think you do, and some people know a little bit about certain things, but the world's much, much, much more deeper than you think it is, and it's a lot of been around for long time. The world has, and so it's perfected itself in its criminality and all the dark stuff that goes on in the world that we're not aware of.
Yeah, and there's a lot of it.
Oh God, yeah. The world's just crammed filled with all kinds of secrets and dirty criminal stuff going on and ripping off of old people and stealing everything people have, and it's just a terrible situation. And I don't think there's I've said this before and I believe it. I don't think the human race is ever going to be able to do anything about the injustices in the world. And I think it's even less now. We had a chance. I think we had a somewhat of a chance back in the 1770s when the U.S. of A. was founded. What was his name? Thomas Paine?
Yeah.
Yeah, Thomas Paine said, looking at the founding of the United States of America, and he said, for the first time, we have a chance to remake the world. It was almost as if everyone knew that what was being done in the founding of the United States of America had never, ever been done before. It was an extremely different thing that was happening, whereby government was being divided into three parts, and nobody was going to be able to have more power than anybody else. And parts of the government were going to be dependent on other parts of the government for permission, and so people would be protected from their government. They would have freedoms and protections and Bill of Rights and all that kind of thing. And so that's never been done before.
And the idea of individual liberty.
Yeah, individual liberty, right? Exactly, and nobody's ever heard of that. And so when the powers that be, back in 1770s, that was the royalty of Europe and the royalty around the world, but especially in Europe, when they heard that there was a new kind of government being formed, and it was guaranteeing people their freedom and individual liberties and freedoms to do what they want and to worship the way they wish and be who they are and do what they do. And the people who were in power in Europe immediately said, "No, thank you. That's not going to happen. No way."
Yeah, I mean, how can you let people have the pursuit of happiness?
Yeah, well, they want to make damn sure that there is no happiness and you don't pursue nothing. You need to sit down and shut up and drink your beer and watch TV.
That's right.
And
so I don't do either of those things.
Well, there's a lot of people awakening to the fact that these were all put there to keep you occupied so you don't think too much and get in the way of your masters who own you. And so I'm just amazed how much people don't know about the world they live in and the government they live under. And
it's like I've heard you before talk about this, and ever since I've heard you say it, I've realized it more and more that it dominates every aspect of everyone's life. Is that there's two law systems going on here. There's the Constitution, the law of the land, which everybody believes we live under, and then, like you said, about maritime law, and like everything else is maritime law. None of it's based on the individual or the law of the land that we're supposed to live on.
That's right. That's right. That's why when you go to a courtroom, that's where you see it mostly. That's where you can really see it is in a courtroom, but people don't know what I'm talking about. But in the courtroom, you see the law of the land hitting and confronting the law of the sea. You see, it's thousands of years ago, even before the Roman Empire existed. We're talking about back in the ancient Grecian Empire, before Rome even existed. There was already the idea being expressed in governments of Europe, that in Asia also, that there were two kinds of law on the earth, because there are only two things on the earth: there's land and water.
That's right.
That's it. There's land or water. And so it was decided thousands of years ago. We weren't told this, but it was decided thousands of years ago that there should be two kinds of law. One should be a law that applies to land, and one should be a law that applies to the sea. And so today we still have something we refer to as the law of the land. And so you've heard that term in school, and from now, once in a while, you'll hear that term again, the law of the land.
Yeah, usually only with arguments about constitutionalities.
Yeah, right. And so most people don't realize that. Why do you use that term, law of the land? Well, because if you understand law, there's a second law on the earth, the law of the sea, the law of water.
Yeah.
And so the law of the land is the law or the custom of the people that live on a particular spot of land. And so the custom of the people that live on a particular piece of land is referred to as the law of the land. Why? Because the ancient Romans in their law, one of the maxims of Roman law was the will of the people is the voice of God. Meaning that whatever the people in a particular area want and believe, and this is the way they live, and this is what they want, the Romans said, so be it. That's it. So whatever the people say they want and whatever the people say they believe, that's fine. That's the way it is then. And so if you're going to go visit there, well, then you better find out, what the law of the land is, because it's the law of the custom of the people that live in that particular kind of land. And so today, you can do things in, say, China you can't do in South Africa. You can do things in Russia you cannot do in the United States. You can do things in Australia you can't do in Panama. So every country has a different culture of people. And that culture of that people is the law of the land, the law of that land.
That's right.
And so when in Rome, do as the Romans do. So if you're going to go to another country, you don't act like you act in your own country. You're in a different country. You're in a different culture. So you learn what they do and what they eat and how they view things, and
That's
learn
right.
their laws,
That's survival 101 is to
Yeah.
know what the locals know.
That's exactly right. So you are abiding by the law of the land. However, there is a far more important law on the earth that makes the earth work. It's called the law of the sea, the law of water. And that is what we call the money. It's called the law of the sea. The law of water is banking law. That's why we say things like money goes through your hands like water. I've heard that for years. Yeah, well, money goes through your hands like water. No, actually, money is water. Money is considered to be the liquid asset.
That's right.
It's
Currency.
the cash. Yeah, it's the cash flow. And so it's water. And so money does go through your hands like water, because money is considered by international law to be water. And it's a flow. And this is why you put your money into banks. Why? Because you have a river bank. And what does a river bank do? It directs the flow of the currency, because your money is called currency. Why? Because it is a current. It's an ebb and flow, like the ocean. The tide comes in, the tide goes out. The waves come in, the waves go out. The money comes in, the money goes out. It's an ebb and flow. It's a currency. And so you put it into the bank, which is a river bank, and the river bank directs the flow of the current, see? And so once you see how that works, money is water, and then you find out that money, there's a whole world of knowledge about how money is negotiated and how it operates around the globe. All over the world, nations of the world have their own economics, and yet the whole entire world is connected to one operation. It's called maritime admiralty law, the law of money.
Yeah.
And that's a whole story.
Is this I mean, not to cut you off on this, but I know you knew Zachariah Sitchin and worked with him.
Yep.
And whenever I read these books, like the Book of Inky and stuff like that, they always talk about how when Lulu and Inky first got there, they came in the water and they wore fish suits and they set up kind of on the water first before he moved into land. So is that why everything's based like off of that point, that he came from the water, he was the ruler of the water, and so everything that they built from then on out is
based on the water.
Yeah. And the rules that were set up with him being the master of it.
Yeah, that's right. And since your body is over 76% water, you are considered by law, under international law, a man or woman, a human being, is considered by law to be a maritime product. And so, because you are 76% water, and when you were born, you came out of your mother's water.
That's right.
So her water broke, and you came out. Well, and then when you came out, you were covered with water, and your lungs were breathing water when you were in your mother, and then you come out, and so now your body is 76% water. So you are considered a banking product. You are a human resource.
Is that why it's the natural? Like as soon as someone, any kind of family or business or anything, when they always call that, like you said, underwater, like whenever they're broke and they're
of course
in debt, they run to the bank, like the bank would save them. I mean, not like they're going to, but and like you said, when it relates to reality, if you're drowning and you're underwater, you're trying to get to the bank to get out and get on the land.
Yeah, that's about it. I think you got it.
Wow. Well, I mean, I didn't know that there was like a correlation. I just always thought of that when you said about people being broke and they're underwater. It always made me think of drowning, and then people.
Well, we save people drowning in debt.
Yeah, that's right.
So, let me give you an example. Money goes through your hands like water. Well, because money is considered a liquid asset.
Right.
And so we say things that are all the different terms that we use and say every day that deal with water. For instance, we can say if you're really broken, you're totally out, then we say he's all washed up.
Wow. I didn't even think of that one.
Yeah. And why? Because, well, he's awash in debt. Wash in debt. Yeah. And so when you go into court, once you go into court, you're now in hot water.
Wow.
And you're going to need somebody to bail you out.
That's right.
And so therefore at the banks, they get flooded. They get flooded with bailout money.
Wow, and they do that a lot, don't they?
Yeah, and so your bank account has dried up, or you have an offshore account.
Wow, yeah.
Or you're drowning in debt.
It's just on and on and on with that, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I'm not through.
Oh.
And so you are laundering dirty money.
Yeah.
And you're doing it in the mainstream. The bank can levy your account. Don't worry, one day your ship will come in but your house is underwater. And so when you have no cash flow, you float alone at the river bank, which directs the flow of the currency. And so we say not to make waves, because we don't want you to rock the boat here. So the reason why is because we run a tight ship, and we want to know if you're on board.
That's right.
Why? With laundering the money in the mainstream. And if you are, you can work in the shipping department, or the bank will levy your account. And so, even government's called statesmanship, and or government is called a ship of state. And so, let me explain something to you. That first of all, there's so much here I need to go back and set the stage for understanding all of this. First of all, every ship in the world, period, on the earth, any ship, a rocket ship, a sailing ship, any kind of a ship on the water or in the air, or whatever kind of ship it is, all ships must have a captain. That's the law. All ships have a captain. A captain of an airline, that's an airship. Or if you're an astronaut, you're a captain in the astronaut. Yeah, well, that's a rocket ship. Or if you have a sailing ship, well, then there's a captain on the ship. And the captain on any ship is considered to be, by law, God, G-O-D. A captain on any ship is considered to be God. That's the law.
That's right.
Meaning he is the law, period. Whatever he says, he's the law. You don't think so? You mess with a captain on board ship and they'll throw you in the brig so quick, throw you into a jail and report you when you get back on land, and you go into prison.
Yeah.
Because why? Because the captain said so. Period.
Yeah.
So therefore, you need to understand that when a ship pulls into harbor, I was going to say all ships on the earth, any kind of a ship, is always a female. It's always female by law.
That's right.
Any ship. Why? Because the captains always say, when they're talking about their ship, they always say, oh, she's a good ship, and she's done well, and she's this, and she's that. Why she? Why is the ship she? It's because the ship delivers the product. An airship, an airliner is called an airship. It's delivering a product.
Yeah.
What is the product? It's you. You are the product. And so the shipping company is making money by shipping you. And so all ships are female because the females produce the product. So in a marriage, the male manufactures, but the female is in labor, creating the product for the man. But he manufactured, and then the female is producing the product, and she's in labor, building the product.
Yeah.
And so, do you understand? So
Yes.
now we talk. So
You just made
Now-
another epiphany to me too, because you went through the whole maritime, like with the ships and the government and everything. So I guess that's why when a military person or wants to be in the military and they can't handle the maritime system, they get washed out.
that's it. You get washed out.
Oh, wow.
That's it. And so when the ship is female, all ships are female. So when a sailing ship, like these big ocean liners, pull into a harbor, say from Japan with $800 million worth of TVs or Toyotas or whatever, the ship pulls into a harbor. Where it parks is called its berth, B-E-R-T-H, a berth.
Yeah.
So the ship is sitting in her berth. And so every piece of merchandise coming off that ship must have its own paperwork. Each car or each TV, each item must have its own paperwork. So it's referred to, the paperwork on board ship is referred to as a certificate of manifest. Why? Because yesterday, when we were all at the harbor, there was no ship here. But when you came in this morning to work, there's a ship sitting here. So it has manifested. Well, not only has it manifested, but it manifested $800 million worth of Toyotas also.
Yeah.
And so each piece has to have its own certificate of manifest. What are you talking about? Well, we want to know how much does it weigh and what color is it? And is it 2 doors or 4 doors? And what color is it? Does it have air conditioning, etc.? And what was the make and the model, etc.? And so why? Because we need a certificate to show its value and what it is that was delivered. And so this is why when when your mother is in her birth, she gives birth to you. And so the ship, she is in her birth. The ship is in her birth, and she's giving birth to you. And when you come out, you have to have a certificate, so it's called a birth certificate. And so when you get a birth certificate, it tells us, what are you, a Ford or a Chrysler or a television or what? No, you're a man. You've got 2 eyes, yeah. Do you have 2 legs? Yep, okay. And what color is he? He's black or he's brown? And who makes him? China or Japan or wherever, so that we now know what we've just added to the business of this world. We now know there's a new Japanese man and 2 black girls and 1 guy from China. And so that's the way they keep track on your birth certificate, because you are a maritime admiralty product and you came in on your mother's birth. And so your birth certificate has to be signed by the dock, because that's where the ship is sitting. It's at the dock. So the dock signs your birth certificate, and now you are a maritime admiralty product or a human resource. You're not a man or a woman. You're just here to make money, and the government's going to make money off of you. Corporations are going to make money off of you.
Yeah.
You might even possibly make a few dollars yourself, but you are a business. And this is what people do not understand. If you're a man or a woman or a child, by law, you are considered to be a corporation. You are a business. And your wife or your girlfriend is also a business. She is a corporation. Just like General Electric and General Motors and Ford Motor Company, your body, as a man, you are a corporation. And so that's why you, as a corporation, if you're going to get married, then she's a corporation. So now one corporation is going to do business with another corporation. So when I see you coming out of a restaurant, say 2 o'clock in the morning with some girl, and the next day I say to you, you know, that girl I saw you with last night, yeah, she is bad company. And you say to me, mind your own business. Business? Company? Yeah, and then I find out you're going to get married and she's going to be your partner.
Yeah.
What are we talking about? Partner and business and company? And so therefore you are a corporation. And therefore one corporation is going to do some business, and thank God what you're going to do is none of my business.
Right.
And what I'm doing, it ain't none of your business.
Is that why it's so important? Is that why there's such a big thing about listing the father on the birth certificate, because he's the manufacturer, like you said?
That's right. That's exactly right. It has to do with where did it come from? Well, it came from your father. Oh, really? Was that German or Italian or what? And so, because why? Because you are a product. And so, if we're going to sell you later because you are a human resource, well, maybe who we're going to sell you to, they don't like Germans.
Yeah.
They wanted an African. Okay, well then find a resource that's got an African manufacturer. That's the way it works. So anyway, and so now you understand why you have to have a marriage license. You have to have a marriage license because you're doing business. It's called sex. If you go to the library or get a law dictionary and look up the word commerce. Commerce is business.
Yeah.
Well, look up the word commerce in a dictionary. Look it up what lawyers know. If you're going to talk about a word, find out what you're talking about. Go to a law dictionary and look up the word commerce. And it will tell you that in law, the word commerce means sex. It's just business. Happily, that's none of my business. and who I sleep with is none of your business.
That's right.
But it is business. Why? Well, because if something happens, you don't go to the Lord and talk to the Lord Jesus. You're going to court.
That's right.
And you better bring your house and your money and your car and anything else you own, son, because that's just business.
And that seems to be everybody's side action is trying to get into
course.
your business. They want
That's
in your
right.
business. What are you doing? What do you got?
Yeah, and I would say it's none of my business who I'm sleeping with. That's my business. And then so but if you're going to make it legal and join two corporations, that's fine. Anybody can do that, but you better get a license. Why? Because there's two corporations and they're doing business. And you don't do any business in this country unless you cut the government in on it.
Yeah.
Period. You show the taxes, you pay the fines and fees, and you get the attorney, and you sign the contract. Now you can do business. And if you come together and create a new product, like a baby, that product belongs to the corporation that gave you the license. Because if they're giving you a license, that means they have the power, you don't. So you need to get the license from them. Why? Because they are the boss, not you. Well, if they give you permission to do something, then they are part of what you're doing. And so when the baby is born, it has three parents, you, your wife, and the government. And you don't think so? Wait till the government decides to come take your child from you.
Yeah.
And then you'll find out.
It's terrifying, too, that people don't realize that they don't have control. Like you said, they don't understand how anything works and that they don't have any control over it either.
That's exactly right. And then when you get to understand, my goodness, there's just so many avenues we could go from this because it's a very big subject of how the world works. Let me give you another
even worse
example.
now, though, because like the simple language or the layman's language, the people on the streets right now, and they don't even know that. No,
they have no idea in the world about any of this. So, first of all, I would ask, and I do this all the time, I ask audiences, how many states in our federal union, how many states are there? And most people will say, if they're smart and educated, they'll say 50.
Yeah.
President Obama said the 47. The 47 states. So damn stupid, he didn't know there was 48, and then we added 2. That makes it 50, not 47.
Yeah.
But that's okay. He didn't know from crap anyway. But so you say, how many states are there? Well, there's 48, there's 2, that's 50. Actually, no, there's 51, and that's not even correct. There's,
Is that
there's
Puerto
50.
Rico?
No.
Okay.
51 states in our federal union. We got the state of California, the state of Texas, the state of New York, and the state of Israel.
That's right.
Yep. Uh-huh. So that's why the United States is spending so much money in Israel, because it's a state of, it's the state of Israel, like the state of Alabama, and the state of Florida, and the state of California.
That's right.
It's the state of Israel. It's part of our federal establishment, period. Now, the other thing, though, is that I was asked, we're talking about the 50 states in our union. How many states are in our union? Like I said, most people, if they're educated enough, will tell you there's 50 states.
Yeah.
To which I say no, no, and no. There's not 50 states. There's 100 states. Completely and totally different 100 states in our federal union. You just didn't know it. So here's the way you understand that there's 100 states in our union. Every state is 2 states. But you are not supposed to know that. All you need to do is drink your beer and watch basketball and shut up. But there are actually 2 states. In California, you have something called California State. And in California, we call it Cal State. So we got Cal State Northridge University and Cal State Long Beach College, Cal State this and Cal State that. Well, Cal State is California State. But you also have something called the state of California. Oh, that's different. California State is one thing, but state of California is totally different. So that's why you have to know what you're doing when you're dealing with government and state government. Are you dealing with the California state government, or are you dealing with the government of the state of California? Because they're not the same at all.
Wow.
California State, like Alabama State or New York State, or Kansas State. When you say the name of the state first, California State, California State is that property we call California, that division of property, that land, with its borders. That's called California State. But the state of California is the federal government operating inside of California. So you have a state government, but you also got federal laws here. You also have federal jurisdiction here. So you got 2 governments going here. You got the state government, and then you got the federal government. So the state government has the name of the state, like California State. The federal is called the state of California. So it's not California, but it is a state within the state. And so, people don't realize there are 2 states, so now we've got 100 states. Well, the same thing is true for you. There's 2 of you. There's the flesh and blood, the one that bleeds, the one that wakes up, the one that eats. The flesh and blood you is one thing. But there's 2 of you. By law, there is always 2 of you. There is a private you and a public you. The private you is your body, your personal, physical, blood and flesh body. And there is, and this is something you need to listen and understand, there is no law in this country or on the earth. There is no law that applies to you as a flesh and blood person. None. There is no law that applies to you.
That's exactly why none of the state police agencies are respecting your body as being part of the 4th Amendment.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. But it has to do even bigger with the idea that your body is a private corporation. And of course, if one private corporation, which is Ford Motor Company, is going to do business with Eli Lilly Company, a glass company, well, that's their business, but you need to get a permit, you need to pay a license and fee and ask permission. And so the idea is that there's two of you. There's a private you and there's a public you. So if you owe me $5,000 and you don't pay me, I cannot, by law, I cannot come to your home and steal something from you that's worth 5,000 to get my money back. That you can't do that. Why? Because you're mixing apples and oranges. Because your private self, I have no control over whatsoever. I can't tell you who to sleep with, I can't tell you what to eat, and I can't tell you nothing. And so the private you is not in debt to me at all. It's the public you that's in debt to me. So I cannot come to your home. I cannot do anything to you and your home or your family if you owe me money. I can take you to court and deal with the government, bring the government into it and deal in court. But now that's public. Lots of people are going to be in the courtroom. And this is going, and whatever that happens is going to be on the record, and people can go back 20 years from now and look at what you did, or look at what I did, and they can see the case. It's a public record. So therefore, there's two of you. There's the public you, which I can deal with in court, but there's the private you I can't deal with. And so understanding that, then there are two kinds of law. There's the public and the private law. Now, how do you know which way I am dealing with you, public or private? Well, the way you tell that in law, the way I can tell if I was a lawyer and looking at a case that you're involved in, I can tell immediately how I'm going to deal with you, because I'm not going to be able to deal with you privately. It has nothing to do with private. But I would deal with you lawfully in public, okay? So how do you tell the difference between you and the public and you and the private? It's how you sign your name. If you sign your name with the first letter being capital and the rest lowercase, upper and lowercase, then upper and lowercase, that represents your flesh and blood body. That's your personal flesh and blood self. And your name is what starts with a capital letter, then lowercase, capital letter, and lowercase. I have no way at all to deal with a capital and lowercase name in a court. I cannot deal with it in court. That's your personal, private self. So the only way to know how to deal with you in the public is the way you spell your name. And so in the public, your name must be in all capital letters, period. Your driver's license, your insurance company, your gas card, your grocery bill, your house payment, car payment, I don't care what it is. If it's a piece of business of any kind, your name must be in all capital letters, period. End of sentence.
That's so ironic. I mean, I've never heard that part before, but all of my aliases, as far as entertainment or whatever, like my channel and my name's on Twitter and Facebook, I always capitalize the whole thing if it's not my name. But like that's just a coincidence. But yeah, so my I guess stage name is all caps, but when I write my name as a person, I always
upper and lowercase.
Yes. I didn't even know that was a thing.
Well, that's the correct way to do it by law. The actual correct way in law. If you're in court, and if you're in a federal court, and I'm suing you, and here on my lawsuit, I have your name right here in front of the judge on this lawsuit, and it's an upper and lower case, the judge will throw it out. You don't have a case. Get out of here. It's over. Wow. Why? Because the only way you can deal with another man, another human, is with all capital letters, because that is your public persona. That's your public name.
Yeah.
I can't deal with you in the private. I got no dealing with you in private. Now, understand there's a private and a public you. Well, if you go to a restaurant with, say, 10 of your friends, and you're sitting in the back corner of the restaurant in a private conversation, You can, the way the world works, you can use any language you please, any cursing or any foul language you wish, and call anybody you wish anything you want. As long as your friends don't mind, you can say anything you want about anybody. I don't care what color, nationality, or what. Why? Because that's a private conversation between you and your friends. So what you say in private is nobody's business but you and your friends.
Yeah.
But if you go on radio or go out on the stage before a huge audience and start using those same terms and those same words and cursing, that's totally different. That's a whole different story. No longer is it private conversation. The government is empowered to protect the people. And so when you're using language like that, you're hurting other people's feelings. You are angering them as though they have a right to come in and put you in jail. You can be sued and put in jail for using curse words and stuff and calling people names and racial terms and all that in public.
So are you telling me that legally you only have free speech in private?
Yeah, you only have free speech in private. That's exactly right. You can say whatever you want in public as long as you watch your mouth, because if you say anything against somebody else or you call them by some derogatory term, then you can get in trouble.
Yeah.
You know that as well as I do. If you go out and start calling people racist terms and calling them all kinds of names, they can sue you for libel and sue you for calling them those terms. Why? Because it's in public. They don't care if you're a Ku Klux Klanman and you really are cursing and ranting and raving about blacks or Jews or whoever. As long as you're in the church with the rest of your Klan members and it's private, just between you and your friends in church, that's private. That's not public. But if you go out on radio and start talking the same way, now you're getting in trouble. Now you could be in trouble. The police can arrest you. And it'd be a good thing if they did, because maybe somebody's going to kill you for what you said. Right? And so there's a difference between the private you and the public you. That's all I'm trying to say.
Yeah, that's why they keep coming up with all of these new terms.
That's right.
I can't even keep track of them. There's
I know.
Gender fluidity and a trans this, trans that, or a hate speech is seems like a new term to me. I know people spoke with hate before, but now it's a thing that they're trying to prosecute you for.
Oh, of course. Now, here's some more. When the ship pulls into a harbor, as I said, she's a good ship, and she pulls into harbor, and she's got all this, merchandise above, and she's got it all on her. So she is delivering the product. Well, that's what your mother did. She was in labor delivering you. She was in a delivery room. And she delivered a product, which was you. And so that's why you have to have a birth, B-E-R-T-H, birth certificate. It's got to be signed by the doc, because that's where she was sitting, by the doc in her birth. Okay, so now what you need to understand is that, now just hold on and let me think about how to say this. There's two kinds of law, the land and sea, the land and the ocean. All right, in Latin, the sea, the S-E-A, the water, the land, the sea and the ocean is M-E-R, mer. Mer as in mermaid.
Yeah.
Or mer, mer is the sea. And so we say, and we've even had songs that say that the sea is enchanting.
We interrupt this program with breaking news.
You see this right here? I 100% endorse this. This is good stuff. Brilliant.
Fuck it!
Guess I'll just close my eyes.